Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. Religion is a system that teaches the actions of love, faith, devotion, service, and surrender to the Supreme. And certainly, all these instincts and exercises should be translatable. Everything should have a beneficial impact on the practitioner, his surroundings, and in the entire environment as a whole. That which has no convertibility or translatability is totally futile. All religious exercises aimed at God, not reflecting on the practitioners and their environment in the form of benefit, benevolence, and bliss. The first reflection or translation of divine devotion is benefits, whatever you seek. The second fruit is bliss. That is the soul's requisite or the soul's status of inherence. Third is benevolence, an act by which this bliss or benefit is transmitted. So anything that is inconvertible, that becomes useless. So religion also, without providing benefits, bliss and benevolence of sharing both, is just nothing but hopelessness, hypocrisy and hazard. So we need all these three qualities. And this benevolence should be extremely focused on life forces and life supporting forces and structure, the system. The entire world, as per the science, there are only two definitions. When divulged, they call it as an act or part and associate of matter. When undeciphered, they call it as a mystery. There are only two answers. They cannot go beyond that. But for us, this entire world is a miracle, inexplicable, ineffable in its grandeur and gaiety. More than that, it is a symbol marking the munificence of God, for He has given us everything. To live, to love, and to live. For everything He has made provisions. And third is, it's not only miracle and munificence, but also mercy, because He holds innumerable undeserving components. So our definition of this world is actually different. So it is a must for a religious person to appreciate and honor the God's creation in the form of life forms and the platform of life. And love and respect to this environment, the ecosystem or the universe, however you call it as, is nothing but proper usage. Right usage, limited and productive usage of the resources, and preventing misuse, exploitation, and excessive usages is love and respect towards nature and honoring the dignified creation of God. God has clearly proved His brilliance and generosity by this creation. This creation, we can see only two things in projection. One is His brilliance, and second is generosity. And we have to show our gratitude as well as reciprocate our brilliance and generosity, which is cultivated by God only by means of three ways: by preservation of nature, by development of nature, and distribution of the bounty of nature to all possible corners, all needy corners. So preservation, development, and distribution are the three areas where our brilliance and generosity is much anticipated by God, much awaited with thrill by God. So, It is our duty to see that our desires, wild desires, uncontrollable desires, serious desires, imagineering, creativity. So God has made a lot of fun and fashions inside human mind and intelligence. So our desires, imagineering and creativity should not exceed the ambits of the well-being of planetary systems and subjects. That is the only stipulation. We are having, as shadows or representatives of God, we have the power to create, sustain and to destroy. But our power of destruction is not to be aimed at something which needs to be created and sustained. It is misfired at the targets of creation and sustenance. We have to co-create something. We have been given the power of co-creation. But in this power of co-creation, we get innumerable ideologies, methodologies, which are displayed as technologies. But everything should be in the correct track. They should not be intruders of nature. And after inventing something, you should not end in foolish compromises, like spending more risky times in rectification and diverting your valuable potential in rectification exercises and various other things instead of saving the world and moving ahead. So, intruders of nature. The second thing is rectification risks and diversions. And third thing is very interesting. It is the profit penalty match. Whatever you have gained as profit by industrialization and various other developments, they will be reimbursed as penalty for risk analysis, research on solutions and remediation exercises. With interest, we have to invest the profit as penalty for these activities. So is it a prudent act? So, to fashion the fabric of growth sustainably within the well-being frame of the planetary system and subjects is known as divine intelligence or divine technology, which is now called as sustainable technology in a different sense. So, we should have this approach. But verily we see, whenever these people invented these technologies, by precognition, they would have found out the consequential errors and hazardous effects of what they are doing. Even without precognition, they were merely presumable by common sense. But they have left without having a broader perspective and futuristic perspective, they have left it. Now also, in this worst era, they are very slow because we know that withdrawal, we need three things: withdrawal, substitution and settlement. Withdrawal from all eco-hazardous ventures. They are doing at a dead slow pace or they are not doing at all. And substitution by eco-friendly behaviors and eco-friendly ventures or procedures, that is also dead slow. And remediation is also moving in the slowest speed. So now also this is not happening because of insensitivity. There should be some sensitivity driven by determination and dynamic action. This sensitivity, determination and dynamic action, SD square or SDD, will come only by a spiritual might. All other people, because the spiritual people, just as if you have pain in your leg, immediately your hand will rush there for service, and ears will be interested in hearing the remedy. The mouth will speak out the pain. The eyes will feel for it. We know that every part of the body responds to the disturbance of the same system's another part. If a spiritual person who realizes that he is a part of a cosmos and the cosmic ingredients are embedded in his own nature, certainly anything that happens because of his supersensitivity, his mouth will speak, his hands will rush, his ears will be interested in hearing the solution, his eyes will shed tears. So, this sensitivity in a broader perspective is possible only by a spiritual cosmocentric vision. All other people, they know, but they could not respond because of lacking of a cosmocentric realization, lacking of spiritual perspective. So, only such people can bring glory to nature and dignity to the creation and creatures of God. You should understand that earth, space, air, water and fire, they are all unique elements and very gracious in nature. Instead of using them in a proper way and preserving them, what we are now doing? If earth is plundered, if it is made unlivable, now they are researching about alternate colonizations, substitution for natural elements like water, oxygen, etc. Hyper-producing, that is hyper-productivity of elements instead of properly using and distributing the already producing element or produced element. So all anti-planetary facets of progress are in full stroke and full move. This is how we are fashioning the world. And what we are doing now is nothing but, in serious designation, it is war against nature. What we are doing knowingly or unknowingly, we are waging a war against nature. What do you call climate change? What is global warming? What is pollution? It is war against nature. If you are against a component of nature, everybody is a subject of nature. If you are against them, that itself is sinful. More than that is a component of nature like air and water. You are against the nature. If you are against a subject, you are against its components. Against a component, you are against the nature at all. Against the nature, you are waging a war against the God himself. So, a person making the elegant art piece of God ugly, making the abode of God unlivable, is the first and foremost enemy of God, irrespective of his religious fervor, attachment, austerity and principles. Similarly, speaking about a progress structure against the health of nature and not speaking when earth is made ugly and plundered, injured and harmed or made impure, that is known as blasphemy. Not only speaking against God, speaking against a growth structure which is against nature, and not speaking when earth is injured and de-beautified. That is known as blasphemy. All of our religious abodes of worship, all of our religious practices and our inhabitation is on the platform of earth. What is the use of your religious duties and religious precision or perfection? Making the platform ugly and desanctified. So, desanctification of earth and the person's indulgence in religious beautification and religious propagation and religious domination is a mockery on ethics, mockery on rational and mockery on the divine loyalty itself. So, it is our duty to raise our voices against every smallest, even smallest act of injury or intrusion into the structure, salubrity and chastity of nature. It is our duty. So apart from our religious duties, we have to see that proper utility of nature, safeguarding the safety of nature, endorsing a proper way of prosperity with nature, non-intervention with the systems of nature, prevention of any harm and remediation of all harms that have ever occurred. These 6 major duties make a religious person purely religious, because this planet and planetary living is nothing but a prototype model of heaven and heavenly experience. Heaven is the boon or the grand perks offered by God to one who has made a sample or prototype model out of a smaller space offered to him in the form of earth. So, it is our primary duty. So, the first motto will be back to nature. In spite of the need of technology for emergencies, for rapidity, for more precision, and for encompassing the increasing population and needs of the society, still there are hundreds of ways to be with nature. How we can maintain the progressive usage of technology and the placid environment of nature, both put together for an effective living and ethical living. Second thing is, whatever we do, we should make an annual assessment of what we are doing. Because we do three things. We used to call it as produce, pollute, and remediate. We produce more, we pollute more and more, but we remediate less. So this annual assessment should be maintained. If you see the annual assessments, they are not comfortable. They are not consoling. So we have to create a change which should be assessed by our own selves. Within the next parliament, there should be either a regional, even though not a global reflection of change, either a regional or a small provincial change, at least in one sector of environmental encroachment, should be practically envisioned. This annual assessment is much needed. And in the global sense or in the ecological sense, worshipping nature is nothing but preserving nature. Celibacy regarding nature is nothing but non-intrusion into the intricate, unique features of nature. Austerity is nothing but non-intervention into the existence and sustenance of nature. And rituals are nothing but all of our trials to see that the nature is enriched and ever bounteous to us. So such a type of special approach towards worship of nature, ecolatry, should be maintained by us. And one more interesting thing is, in this natural system, we have to see that every part of our act that is done by our meditation, prayer, as well as by our visible action, resulting in creating harmony in nature as well as in human lives or living beings. One major point, I've already told, it is interesting because it is mutual. If our thoughts are disharmonious, if our thoughts and deeds are having negative base, it will reflect as disturbance and disasters in nature. So, apart from preserving nature by various approaches towards nature, that is the second way, preserving nature by our own indigenous or inbuilt positive nature. Planetary nature can be preserved not only by planetary concern but also by our positive concern. So, personal nature of living beings, apart from planetary concern, is much essential to create order in the nature. Similarly, continuous, persistent, irrational disturbance to the existence of the natural components and their association will result in disharmony, reflect in the society as disharmony. If you plunder soil, you think that soil is defertilized, but the health quotient of the society will also be affected, not only directly through cultivation process, but also by the reflection of any consciousness response. Any consciousness response that emanates from the disturbance caused in any other consciousness system is inescapable, starting from the microbes to the insentient elements like earth, water, and air, to the birds, animals, and humans. All these various consciousness level systems are intertwined. So any disturbance will reflect on the other. So we are facing three things. One is disharmony. As earth is separated, the soil is separated from various insects and microbes. Most of the plants are isolated by a deforestation method. And so many animals and so many living beings are endangered, isolated, made rare. Most of the things are growing obsolete. So these natural pairs are being separated, which results in cleavages in families, lack of attachment between pairs, like an employee and employer, a servant and master, ruler and the subjects. It will have a great, magnificent reflection. So disharmony that is seen in the society, debilitation seen mentally and physically in the society, and the most expected extinction of human race by making most of the species extinct. These three things are greater warnings to the human community to correct themselves and to see that they can remediate everything and take the right track of usage of nature. So, being the son of God and appreciator of nature, the religious parliament should act as an eco-parliament, because only when the planet survives, all other plans, proposals and persons can survive to continue with their liberation tasks or living tasks. I wish that we can live in a better planet in the prospective decades. Narayan, Narayan, Narayan.